Hey, how's it going? Hope you're well. Rob here. I've got this NOX Helium 180mm travel and it weighs in at less than 20 kilograms. In fact, 19.6 kilograms. And for a 180mm travel e-bike, that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna have a quick blast. We're gonna get a look at that in a bit more detail in a moment. But first of all, it's there's a software update I need to do, and one of the reasons that this e-bike is so light is because it uses the Fazua Ovation system, which is a 3.3 kilo battery and drive pack. You can actually ride the bike, you can remove the drive pack completely as well. The bike weight is 19.6 kilos, but you can get one of these blanking plates. You can remove the motor and the battery completely and save 3.3 kilograms. So that 19.6 becomes what, 16.3 kilos. So if you want to ride with no motor or battery, you can totally remove it. But what we'll do first is there's quite a significant update on this Fazua motor. Now, when I rode it last time on the Lapierre E-Zesty, there was a few things that I noticed, one of which was the power seemed to kind of drop off after a certain cadence, after about 70 RPM, and they fixed that. And I think they've increased the max power, the maximum mechanical power, up to 300 watts as well. So the power is now applied right through the cadence range up to 120 RPM. It's much more consistent, whereas before it dropped off. So that's really cool, isn't it? That retrospectively, the manufacturers can update the bikes and they become better than they were when you bought them, and it's a free update. But first of all, you might not have seen this drive pack already. This is the Fazua Ovation drive pack. This is the battery. The battery weighs, I think it's about 1 kilo, and it's 250 watts. It's pretty small, pretty lightweight. And this is like the drive pack here. So you've got the kind of drive unit built into this bottom part here, and there's like a heat sink you can see on here. And this is where we're going to do the update. This has got a USB port just underneath here, so we're going to take that out, plug it in, and we'll do the software update. But the battery just slides into the pack just like this, and that's it. That's your drive unit and your battery in that unit, and it weighs about 3.3 kilos all in. But like I said, you can swap it out for that blanking plate that I think Fazua sell for around 50 euros and save all that weight on your bike if you want to just ride it with no motor or battery. This system's got pretty low drag as well, so yeah, I'm interested to see how this NOX rides. So let's quickly update this. Torx 10 screwdriver is all you need, 2 little bits here. I really like the fact that you can get an update on a bike and install it yourself. I think that's really the way forward. You don't need to head to your local dealer. You can just download the software yourself and apply the update, much like you would on many of your devices, many of your electrical devices. I think that all bike companies probably have the ability to do that, but they just, for some reason, don't just yet. You need to go to your dealer for a lot of them. Oh, by the way, this is a mini USB. I had to hunt around a little bit for this. This is one of the old school ones that you got with things like the old GoPros. Well, I don't even think many of the shops sell these anymore because they're pretty old, so I'm not quite sure why they're using the mini USB when most things are now like USB-C or micro USB, but just plugs into there. We'll pop it into the MacBook and update it. There you go, boom, connected straight away. I can see loads of information in here. Software update, I'm gonna just do that for now. So Ovation Motor Software 2, okay, there you go. Maximum power of 300 watts in the highest mode, so I'm just gonna set it as that just to find out how much more powerful it feels. They've also changed the amount of rotation that you need to put through the crank to get the motor to start engaging. I think they've like massively reduced it. That was one of the things that I'd noticed in the past, that you had to start really cranking it for it to actually do something, but the motor cuts in much quicker now. That's it, it's done it in like 30 seconds, if that. You've got these max power modes, eco, moderate and performance. I'm gonna stick in performance. I just wanna find out how much extra power it feels like it's got. And then you've got the different ramp up speeds. So I'm not going to get too much into detail on this here, but it is cool that you can go in and totally customize it. So rocket, we're maxing it out at 300 watts. So just check this graphic out here. You can see the maximum torque is 55 Newton meters of torque from this motor, and it does still tail off from about 60 RPM. You can see as you get through the RPMs and your cadence and you start spinning out, when you're at 100, it's at around 30. I think that's really cool. Well done Fazua for continuing to innovate and provide software updates, and just makes you think what we're going to see over the next few years. It's a bit like your phone, isn't it? You can get iOS updates and new features or new things can kind of be added to it to make your user experience a bit better. Right, enough of that. Let's get out on this NOX. So let's have a look around the bike. Looks really sweet. First up, Fox 36 Grip 2 180mm fork, tubeless Stans Flow rims. Haven't seen Stans rims for quite some time now. They were like the original, or amongst some of the original people that did tubeless rims. 27.5. Renthal carbon bar, nice and wide. I think that's 800mm, and Renthal Apex stem just there. SRAM X01 shifters, Magura brakes, which I really like. Loads of feel, loads of power, and it's got 200mm disc on the front and weirdly only a 180 on the rear. Not quite sure for a kind of downhill / enduro bike. This Fazua Evotion controller thing, it does look kind of out of place on the bike. It's really big, and it's it just, I don't know, it works, it's functional, but it just looks a bit out there design wise. Neat little dropper just under there, and the carbon frame is really nice. It's pretty I would say chiseled, the look of it. It's like real neat lines on it, and it looks mean. Fox DHX2 coil with a 450-pound spring on there and 180mm travel on the rear, and this rear chainstay, seat stay, chainstay is aluminium. So you've got carbon up front, aluminium rear, SRAM EXO cassette and derailleur, and a SRAM EX1 crank arms. And the battery just pops in just under here. You can see from the video earlier, that's where the heatsink is, drive unit's in there, and the battery, it's all in one unit. Really quick and easy to remove. It's just this catch here. You just loosen it or pull it back, battery pops out. You can lock the battery in if you want to. And a Fox transfer dropper post and a neat little lightweight saddle. On the whole, very well spec'd e-bike. I've never really used these Continental Baron tyres, so be interesting to see how they hold up. I mean, it is really dry and dusty, so I'm sure they'll be pretty good. So there you go, another beautiful day in the UK. Let's go for a burn and we'll see what the bike's like. The power is so much different from what I remember, in a good way. I'm spinning not massively fast, 70, 75, 80, and there's a good chunk of power. The motor is quite quiet. This is really quiet. Some motors at a higher cadence start to emit more of a whine. And it's still got some of those Fazua noises. Sounds a bit like a woodpecker when you stop pedaling, but the rest of it is really quiet. Brakes on it are just fantastic. The Magura MT7s, which have loads of power, loads of feel. Really like these. My brake of choice. But the bike, surprisingly nimble for a 180mm travel e-bike, but you know, coming in at 19.6 kilos with a little powerhouse of that Fazua motor with the update, I really like this. I gotta say, this bike is pretty much silent. And you know the GoPro always picks up the noises more than they actually are, louder should I say, than they are in real life because of that frequency. But I'm in the maximum assist mode, and listen, virtually silent, probably the quietest motor on the market. The only noise you hear is the ratchet when you stop pedaling and it starts to freewheel. So if you like a quiet bike, silent bike, I mean, this is barely, you can barely hear it. That's really impressive. Now the motor does seem to take a little while to actually spin up. It still doesn't feel like you get the instant power that you get from some other motors. It seems to take, and Fazua have said they've updated it to provide power quicker than the previous software version, but it seems to be that it takes a good few kind of strokes of the pedals to actually get going. It's like it kind of ramps up a little bit, just a different trait of it. Anyway, I've talked a lot about the motor because it is it's not in a lot of bikes, this motor, and it has been updated, and it's a pretty decent update. The power's good. It's not super power, but it's good, and it's a bloody good bike. Now the price is mega as well, 7,600 euros, so you're paying a lot of money for it, but this is a sweet bike. I was not expecting it to feel like this, and that's the beauty of trying some of these smaller boutique kind of brands, that you can be really pleasantly surprised with the performance. It's really sweet, man. So the battery on this, 250 watt hours. It's on the smaller side. You probably, if you're doing all-dayers, big long rides with groups, you might want to grab a second. When you buy the bike, I noticed you can buy a second battery with it. I know that I'm in the maximum power mode, and when you configure it on the Toolbox app from Fazua, when you put the power up to 300 watts, which is the maximum, it does give you a warning, and it says, hey look, just so you know, when you put it in this mode, it's going to use a lot of the battery, and the motor might go into some passive cooling kind of mode depending on how hot it gets. So it's almost like this mode that is there, but there are some compromises with it. And I've only done 4 or 5 miles, and I've used 30% or 25% and not a huge amount of elevation. So yeah, this extra power, I mean, there's always going to be sacrifices, isn't there, when you're kind of juicing up the motors and overclocking them. They're going to need more power and more cooling. So just something to note. But for a couple of hour blasts, no sweat. This is probably one of the lightest long travel e-bikes in the world. I don't think I've seen anything with 180 at this kind of weight. So the combination of the lightweight 27.5 inch wheels make it feel way more nimble than you would expect a 180mm travel bike to feel. This could be used like most e-bikes for pretty much anything. Cross country, downhill, shuttles, using it for shuttle runs to the top. Now this is not demanding of this bike whatsoever. This is little cross country trails, but you know, all the gnarly stuff is closed and it's not right to go and ride that kind of stuff. So just burning around on these trails is not really fully testing these bikes. I get that, but it gives you a good idea of how it feels, the build of it, geometry. Needs a full-on downhill really, like an enduro trail to fully test it out. I do think it would feel fantastic on that. Just a good chassis, frame feels good. There you go, sweet little bike. Good update by Fazua. Nice to see they're innovating and bringing new stuff out to existing e-bike owners. The NOX Helium is a good bike. It's a shame it's only available in 2 sizes. They only do it in a medium and a large. It's a little bit too small, felt a little bit too cramped for me. But if you're looking for a long travel, lightweight e-bike, with a motor that's not like a full-on powerhouse of a motor, but it's going to give you a boost, an extra 300 watts. It's a good system, it's a good package. I think it's probably the lightest e-bike at that travel in the world. I can't think of anything else. Certainly my Kenevo is 25 kilograms. Yeah, it's got a much bigger battery and a more powerful motor, but it's much, much heavier and it feels so different to ride. I don't think I'd ever take the motor and the battery out. I think I'd always ride it with the motor in. I don't really see the point in taking it out. I think you'd probably just have a normal bike maybe, but good update by Fazua. Good e-bike from NOX. Obviously I can't fully test it, we're in lockdown at the moment, so these are just basic trails just near where I live, but massive thank you for NOX for sending that bike through. And by the way, new studio, hope you like it. I'll give you a bit more details about my studio in an upcoming video, so if you do want to see more, subscribe. If you did like this video, let me know with a thumbs up. It helps me understand what people really like watching. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Take care.